last night, after the Nets were getting their ass kicked and the Rangers embarrassed themselves against the Devils, I, like most Americans, was watching Monday Night Football. And I saw our future Jet and Giant fans. That quarterback matchup last night was exactly what we're going to have a year from now.
Wait, you mean Jameis Winston's coming to one of our teams?
Well, yes, my team. And I'll start with that. Jameis Winston as a bridge quarterback is perfect.
He's so fascinating.
He's fascinating and he's fun. And one thing I'm sick and tired of as a football fan is being bored to tears on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, you'll be entertained.
Jameis Winston would entertain me as a New York Jet fan. So, yes, I'll be specific. The Jets are going to have a bridge quarterback next year. It could be Tyrod Taylor. It could be somebody else we're not thinking about. I would like to publicly endorse Jameis Winston.
Right.
Because even for the 497 yards he'll throw for and the multiple pick sixes and the crazy quotes after games, I'm for that. Because isn't that better than the garbage we've watched over the last decade?
It's better than boring and being not entertained. You could lose, but can you Braveheart it? Are you not entertained? Is that Braveheart? No, that's Gladiator. Gladiator. Are you not entertained? You're entertained by Jameis Winston.
No question.
Because you just know it's going to happen. I was watching that game. I'm like, there's a pick six coming.
No doubt.
Or at least an interception. And obviously it turns into a massive pick six after nobody decides to touch down the DB after he landed on his back and just gets up and runs into the end zone. But that's Jameis.
That's Jameis. And look, ideally I would have a franchise quarterback, but I think the Jets are headed towards an offseason in which they're not going to find their franchise quarterback. They're not going to go with another Aaron Rodgers-like Band-Aid, so get Kirk Cousins' name out your mouth. It's not going to be him.
You don't think you'll be bad enough to get high enough in the draft?
I actually don't. I don't think the Jets are going to lose enough to be picking in the top 2 or 3. I think they're going to accidentally win a game or two. Plus, they already have an extra win over a team like the Giants, over a team like Jacksonville. So I don't even think they're drafting their quarterback. And I think whoever is running this new administration is probably going to take its time finding its franchise quarterback. So I think it's likely that the Jets are going bridge. And that bridge could be Jameis Winston. On the Giants side of things, there is nothing more locky, if you will, no pun intended, than the fact that the New York Giants are drafting a quarterback at the top of this draft. Now, I don't know if they're going to pick number 1 or number 2. It certainly feels that way with the losses piling up. But you're going to have your own Bo Nix. There's no doubt in my mind. You will have the young quarterback that on a weekly basis we're going to try to evaluate and figure out and rip apart a little bit. And the Jets are going to suck with a bridge. We saw last night the future of the New York quarterback position.
Well, it'll be interesting if we get a Drew Lock type, because I don't think a lot of people were high on Drew Lock. I wasn't. I didn't think he had the... I don't know.
You mean Bo Nix?
I mean, Bo Nix, not Drew Lock. You said Drew.
I apologize.
Whatever. You said Lock or something. Whatever.
I said it's a lock. They'll take a quarterback, and it gets very confusing.
But the Bo Nixes of the world.
Yes.
It's funny because watching that game last night and now watching Bo Nix essentially not jump over, but jump right next to Jaden Daniels in the Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation, it makes me realize how important it is to have a coach, either that's a coordinator or a quarterback coach, who knows what the hell he's doing with a young quarterback. Because think about the Josh Allen of the world. When he came into the league, nobody believed that he was going to be as good as he is, an MVP candidate each and every year as he is this year. But Brian Daboll and that offensive staff, they got him there. Bo Nix, I thought he was flawed. Didn't have a ton of starts, had a ton of starts in college, but never looked like he was that guy. And look at him now. Sean Payton is that QB guru, right? If you don't have that guy with a young quarterback, it's like the young quarterback doesn't have a chance. I feel like the Giants do. So whoever they draft at quarterback, I kind of feel like I'll take the Bo Nix experiment, right? Even if it's bad at moments, but there's going to be points where you say, this is why we drafted this kid. Well, now, it wasn't perfect last night, obviously. A couple of interceptions.
But remember, that was the first, and I mentioned this when we were making our picks late in yesterday's show, and you're welcome for that backdoor cover that was pulled off on the Jameis Winston pick 6. But Bo Nix and the Broncos had gone, I think, 4 straight weeks without turning the ball over.
Yep.
So they actually had done a very good job, Bo Nix specifically, at protecting the football. That was a little different last night because they got a little sloppy. They were able to overcome it because Winston was a little bit more sloppier. But you are seeing Bo Nix emerge after being the 12th overall pick as right now the second best quarterback in this draft, and he's challenging Jaden Daniels as maybe being the number 1 guy.
No, he definitely is, and that's all you want. I mean, I don't know where the Denver Broncos are going to finish this year. They're in the playoff conversation at 8-5. They're probably going to make the playoffs, but it almost doesn't even matter. It's because they have their quarterback to build upon in the subsequent years.
Right.
That's all you want. That's all we've been waiting for. I think both of our teams are waiting for that. The Jets, you're probably right, because they're going to win too much, aren't going to be able to draft this year. Maybe they will. We'll see. But the bridge is not exciting to me.
The bridge sucks, bro. I'll be the first to tell you.
What you're saying that's going to happen for the Jets is not something I would champion.
Well, no, honestly, it's what you guys have experienced, especially this year. The Giants had a bridge quarterback this year. It wasn't sold the same way because you didn't just add some veteran off the streets.
True.
Your bridge quarterback was Daniel Jones. We all kind of knew that going into a season, and I agree with you. It's one of the worst feelings as a football fan, which is why Jameis Winston would be my choice as my bridge, because while I'm bridging it until the future, I'd like to be entertained.
At least you'll be entertained.
Right, and Jameis Winston does that. Look, you mentioned Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and what they've accomplished in their first season. I think one thing that's attached to both guys, and this is where you cross your fingers on Brian Daboll, and this is where if Brian Daboll is given a new life and he returns next year, this is where we find out what he's made of. You could take the coach of the year, you put it on the side. You could take the last 2 years, put it on the side. Can you hold the hand of a young quarterback and develop them? Because right now in Washington, Jaden Daniels isn't just a great talent. He is surrounded by really good coaching.
Yes.
Cliff Kingsbury is a really good offensive mind. We'll see what he can do as a head coach when he gets a second opportunity. But right now, he's been perfect next to Jaden Daniels. And Sean Payton, we all know this full well. We all know what Sean Payton's capable of doing. Sean Morath named his daughter after him.
Best play caller in Giants history.
So we know what he's capable of, and that's the thing. I don't know who the Giants are drafting. Here's what I do know. They're drafting a young quarterback, and it's on Brian Daboll to be Cliff Kingsbury. It's on Brian Daboll to be Sean Payton and develop that guy into the answer. Otherwise, you set your franchise back multiple years.
Right. Well, luckily, Brian Daboll just has to be Brian Daboll because he already did this with Josh Allen.
But he hasn't done it here yet.
He hasn't done it here yet, obviously, but he hasn't had the moldable piece of clay to do it with. Now, he kind of did it with Daniel Jones in his first season in 2022 when he had a good season. I'm not saying it was great because he didn't throw for 30 touchdowns, but he had a good season and got him into the playoffs. But you could tell once Daniel got hurt early in 2023, it was never going to be the same. Even trying to come back this year, it never felt the same. You saw it on Hard Knocks. You saw that in their minds they had already moved past him, but as you mentioned, he was their bridge for this season, and ultimately when went the pot, you moved on from him. But I trust that Dabes is that guy. I do, and it's why I don't want him fired, because the last thing I want to do this offseason in a very constricted time frame, probably 2 months, is find the guy that can be the quarterback whisperer as well. Right. Obviously, it's one thing to be the head coach, but then you got to find the guy who also can develop a young quarterback.
Right.
At least you feel like with Dabes, you have that part of it, the developing the quarterback side of it. He has a history of doing that. The head coaching stuff, I mean, that's wins and losses, right? He's got to figure out how to win. You can deal with that for a short amount of time, but it's developing the quarterback that you can't get wrong. Because that's what sets you back.
No question. No question. There is no big mortal lock in the NFL, or specifically locally, than the fact that the New York Giants are drafting a quarterback in the first round. We sat here about 5 months ago, and we did a long-term prediction. Who's going to be the quarterback in 2025? And I can tell you a few of us have already been eliminated. Tiki Barber predicted Daniel Jones. I'm pretty sure they're not bringing him back.
Maybe he gets rehabilitated in Minnesota and comes back as a free agent next year.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet on that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
My prediction was Dak Prescott. I doubt that's going to happen. Since then, Dak got a contract extension. Who knows? I guess the Dallas Cowboys could part ways. I forgot who you picked, Sean. Do you remember who you picked?
I don't, and if it wasn't a rookie, then somebody slapped me in the head because I was way wrong.
He picked Hendon Hooker from
That was it. Hendon Hooker. Good call.
Hooker.
I guess
He's
that's still
Detroit,
possible.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's backup. Forgot.
Yeah, it's not going to be Hendon Hooker. And Tommy Lugauer's pick, to the surprise of nobody, was Tommy DeVito.
What am I, Mirage?
At least you still have a chance.
I'm the favorite.
Well, you have a chance.
I mean, you're the only one that has a shot.
The only chance, though, Tommy has is if whomever they draft, they want to sit for a few weeks. Like Eli Manning sat for the first few weeks. Like Daniel Jones sat for the first few weeks. Like a lot of young quarterbacks sat. That's your only shot.
Well, the only way that happens is if Tommy DeVito, and have we heard if he's starting against the Saints?
We'll know tomorrow.
We'll know tomorrow because they don't go until Wednesday. But if the only way that happens is if Tommy DeVito gets reinserted as the starting quarterback and looks really good the next 5 weeks of the season.
Right.
That's the only way that's
Or
happening.
they want to go real cheap at backup quarterback, and they're like, screw it, we'll just bring Tommy DeVito back.
I don't shine shoes anymore.
For $900,000.
If he can win some games, and not saying that you want to win games right now because you want the draft pick, but let's say if he's a quarterback who, as a backup, that can win some games, absolutely you go cheap with the backup
Absolutely.
quarterback. And saw it last year. He can win games, but he's got to do it again.
He would be a temp bridge, like a bridge for a few weeks until whichever young quarterback is drafted. But there is no bigger mortal lock than the Giants are drafting a quarterback in the first round of the upcoming 2025 NFL draft. The Jets thing is so different because, they could lose every game. Aaron Rodgers said earlier today with Pat McAfee, he wants to play all 17 games. And I'm starting to believe that's going to happen. Like, I'm starting to believe that they're not going to pull him. As we talked about yesterday, what's the point of pulling him? To play Tyrod Taylor? So Aaron Rodgers is going to play. And the Jets have come very, very close to winning a game here or there. They're going to win a few games. And by the way, even if they don't, and they end up kind of sticking in this, picking in the 5th or 6th spot, I still don't think they're going to take a quarterback. Like, I think the Jets are positioning themselves with a brand new head coach and a brand new general manager. And I don't want to use the word tank because I'm not convinced organizations actually do it. But I would say that next year is a reset year. That'll be the term I use to kind of couch the tanking because I don't think franchises like saying that. It's a reset year. And when you have a reset year, kind of like the year where Josh McCown was the quarterback and they were waiting on the suck for Sam year and they ended up drafting Sam Darnold, that's the year we're looking at. And if that's the case, we're going to see a bridge quarterback. And I'll tell you, last night, my bridge is Jameis Winston. Because not only does he deliver hilarious things before games and after games,
I just wish
he's fun.
I just wish he would win more. Because if
you're doing a reset year, Tiki, you may not want to win that much.
No, that's a good point. But he's so close to being a really good quarterback. And it's always the pick sixes.
Well,
always.
He basically feels like Tommy DeVito if Tommy DeVito loved God more. That's what it feels like with Jameis Winston. Winning a bunch of these games, a lot of flair.
But you know what's funny about Jameis Winston? And this is probably the thing I'm going to say in August of next year after the Jets sign him. So the Jets have a brand new administration.
You think he's signing?
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance, Jameis Winston's contract status is crazy. Like, he signed a deal that can be voided at the end of the year. I think it's going to be voided. He's making no money.
Yeah.
In fact, he's only making $1 million this year. He's making a fifth of Drew Lock. Think about that for a second. But you know what I would probably...
And he has the ability to throw for 500 yards.
Yes!
Drew Lock does not.
No kidding. This is a guy that once had a season in which he led the league in passing yards. He threw for 5,000 yards one year.
Yeah.
But if the Jets ever brought in a Jameis Winston quarterback, and I don't mean type, I mean Jameis Winston.
Like himself.
Not someone like him.
Right.
Him. Here's exactly what I would say in August during this reset year. You know what? He's only 30 years old. He's had some success in this league. Guy threw 33 touchdown passes in a season. Has any Jet quarterback actually done that? I could see myself watching Jameis Winston and convincing myself, well, he's got Garrett Wilson. He's got Devontae Adams on a rework deal. He's got Breece Hall. He's got the right coach, whoever the hell that is. Like, I could totally see myself in a reset year believing, you know what? I'm going to turn Jameis Winston into a winning quarterback. I could see that. And maybe that's just me preparing for what I'm going to say in August of 2025 with my season tickets.
Right. The challenge with that is that you got to have a great play caller with Jameis Winston. Because if you leave it up to him to make the decision, put that in quotes, he's going to make poor ones.
Right.
And we saw that last night. It was just like, you don't throw that ball. Like, you're not going to get it there. And so you have to make it easy for him to make the right decision.
Very quickly, I'm writing this down, December 3rd, 2025, 2:16 p.m. We are resetting. We are now predicting the starting quarterback for the New York Giants and the New York Jets week 1, 2025. I will start. You want me to start it off? Take the pressure off you guys?
Sure.
For the New York Giants, your starting quarterback will be Cam Ward. Cam Ward.
Yeah.
For the New York Jets, the starting quarterback will be Jameis Winston.
You're really in on Jameis.
I'm all in. Tiki Barber.
The Giants starting quarterback in 2025, week 1, Tommy DeVito. The Jets starting quarterback 2025, Tyrod Taylor.
That is such a. You know what? That is so lame.
He's under contract. Why make it more complicated
Boy,
than it has to
that
be?
is Tiki chalking it up right there.
Chalk.
I'm going
All
to pick
chalk.
the 2 guys that are currently there. But you know what?
Why does that? I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Hey, if you're right, you're right. When we reveal this on the August 29th edition of Evan and Tiki 2025, I think that's a Friday, by the way, if you're keeping track. And on a Thursday, actually. Mets play the Marlins that night at Citi Field. Everybody will be off but me, so I'll be revealing.
How the hell do you know that?
I know weird stuff, Teak. I know weird stuff.
I'm a loser.
It's also my wedding anniversary, so I know a bunch of things. Sean Morash. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save you for last. Tommy Lugauer.
The Giants starting quarterback in 2025 week 1 is Thomas Cologito DeVito. The Jets starting quarterback in 2025 week 1 is Aaron Rodgers.
Don't stop it.
Aaron Rodgers.
The trilogy.
Aaron's still there.
You know what? Even though he's on the roster, I give you credit for that one. That's outside the box. That's outside the box. That's not chalky like Tiki Barber. I give you credit for that. Sean Morash.
The Jets starting quarterback week 1 will be Justin Fields.
Okay. I like that one. Okay.
The Giants week 1 starting quarterback will be Kirk Cousins.
What?
Kirk Cousins.
I believe, hear me out.
Ugh.
Are you?
Have you watched him the last few
do you
weeks?
want that?
Ugh.
Am I allowed to speak? Go on.
I threw 4 nasty interceptions.
Did I say that that's what I wanted?
No, but
Can you let Tiki throw up in his mouth before you continue?
yeah,
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Just swallow that.
I believe, I'm not sure if Shane and Daboll ultimately would be here next year, but I do believe they are going to take either Shador Sanders or Cam Ward, of which I don't know. But I believe the big sell to John Mara is going to be, we're going to handle this the same way we handled Eli. We're going to find the closest thing available to Kurt Warner, a crappy version of Kirk Cousins, and we're going to start him until we feel the time is now to transition. Could be 4 weeks, could be 5 weeks, could be 2 weeks. And they will have Cousins for a year, handing it over to the rookie at some point next year.
All right.
I don't think he starts week 1.
Well thought out, Sean. Yeah. Touche. We'll get to your calls next. As I'm sitting there watching that football game last night, I saw our future. You guys are going to have your young quarterback to analyze every week, Giant fans. I'm going to have some kind of bridge. 888-808-1019. Plus, Sean Morash, and I think you co-signed this, Tiki, a couple of weeks ago in defending Brian Daboll, said, but guys, he really liked Jaden Daniels. That's a positive kind of attribute of Brian Daboll. Remember Hard Knocks? Well, when we come back, I'll ask the guys a very similar question. Do you hold it against Brian Daboll then that they didn't draft Bo Nix and they passed on him? We'll get their answers. We'll get to your calls. Why Sean is confident that Juan Soto will remain with the New York Yankees. And I have some concerns about the Mets' offseason strategy. We'll get to all of it throughout the show today, including the return of Posted and Toasted coming up at 4:30. That's a little old segment where we guess the old tweets of some of our fellow WFAN coworkers. We are live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.